Hey everybody, and welcome to the KK Zone. As always, I am Kara Kaufman, and I am here with a special treat for you. The Yankees start a three-game series against the Orioles today, and while it is not the first time they're playing the Orioles this year, it took me a little while to find a Baltimore fan. But I did, and not just one, I found a whole family of Baltimore fans. So, I got the chance to speak with the wonderful Jesselyn and James on Monday about the Orioles and how they're doing so far, what we're looking for. I got some really cool insights into the stadium, into what they mean to the city of Baltimore, into Cedric Mullins and John Means. So, great Orioles in the past and great Orioles in the future. A lot of fun to talk with them, as well as their two burgeoning young Orioles fans, the next generation of O's believers. I really enjoyed everything I learned during this chat. I hope you do as well. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Jesselyn and James. Hi, Jesselyn. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is amazing. And you've got company too. So we got a whole family of Orioles fans to chat with, which is a real treat.
Yes. We are so excited to be raising two little Bambini in the Baltimore tradition.
Yeah, she hasn't been to her first Orioles game yet, but Aubrey has.
Well, that's great.
Aubrey's 3.
That's get them started early. That's what I always say. Get the fandom started at a young age and they'll never know anything else, right?
Exactly. Yep.
But for you two, tell me, how did you both become Orioles fans? My first question.
So I'm from Baltimore, but my dad is from Yonkers, and so he's like a diehard Yankees fan. And he tried to raise me as a Yankees fan. There are even pictures of me in pinstripe onesies, which I was not happy about. But I basically grew up just loving baseball, and I was introduced to the Yankees first, and then I found out Baltimore had a team, and I was like, forget the Yankees. I'm gonna root for my hometown team.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Columbia, and I've always been a sports fan, just all kind of the local teams. But I used to go to the Orioles games at Memorial Stadium. My mom had season tickets on the first base side and she always talked about Eddie Murray was a first baseman at the time. And Cal Ripken was on that team. There was a bunch of really good players, but it was a good time to be an Orioles fan. They won the World Series in '83. I remember that growing up, and it was just a great team. Earl Weaver, Orioles Magic, the Orioles Bird. There was a lot to love as a kid, and it was a good atmosphere. And and it was also my mom fermented it too, and it was always just a part of kind of the house, the Orioles cups and the Orioles memorabilia and Orioles this and Orioles that. So
fantastic. Yeah, the more you see it, the more you absorb it. So you both learn lessons on how to get your kids obsessed early. It's perfect.
Oh yeah, exactly. They don't have a choice.
That's the way to go. So looking at this year so far, we've got the Orioles are currently at, and not counting tonight, which is just underway. They're at 15-19, which, I mean, at this point, standings don't mean anything because it's really early. But for whatever it's worth, they're currently 5th in the American League East, 6.5 out. But everyone's kind of bunchy right now. Nobody's really distinguished themselves super highly yet. And my memory so far of this season is watching the Orioles sweep Boston to start the year, being mildly surprised that happened. But then since then, they've only managed to win 3 in a row one time. So it's been kind of a little all over the place. What have you seen so far?
Sure, and they just came back from a road trip on the East Coast where they had a winning road trip, and then we lose 3 in a row to the Red Sox again. The Red Sox have more wins in Camden than we do right now.
But the crazy thing is what their formula for success used to be. Well, first there was the Earl Weaver, the pitching, defense, the 3-run homer. That was the Oriole way. But then, these playoff teams from 2012, 2014, and 2016, I mean, they really just relied on the slugging, and they had Nelson Cruz, and this was back when Chris Davis was performing, and they have Mark Trumbo. Like, they don't have any real sluggers like that. this season. I mean, and the interesting part
Mancini could hit 30.
Mancini, yeah. But still, I mean, he's also a guy who hits for average. I mean, he's not just a slugger, but it's interesting because I feel like this is one of the best pitching years we've had. I mean, John Means is outstanding. And it's like such a twist for us because normally it's like, okay, if the starting pitcher can keep the 3 runs, we're in pretty good shape. But now, the pitchers are giving us a good start.
And who would have thought Matt Harvey would be like under 4 ERA? And
yeah,
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Truly.
So our bullpen is going to get worn out though at this pace because they're only pitching. The starters are only pitching 5 innings. So as good as it may be right now, as good as it may be, like just almost 500, it's I don't think we can keep up that pace. But I mean, we weren't expecting to have an amazing season yet. I think this is maybe one of the last kind of seasons where we're putting it all together and getting them all. And hopefully we keep Means and we keep Mancini and we don't trade them at the break. When it starts getting when we know we're not going to be in it. But I mean, they're not expensive players, and I don't know. It seems like in the past we've been getting rid of like our marquee players for all these prospects, and hopefully at this point we can start keeping some of them and start looking forward. And I mean, Adley should be coming up maybe at the end of this year, so that's there's a lot of positive things, and I don't think we weren't expecting even to be close to 500 at any point. So just sweeping the Red Sox is great. That's all we needed.
I mean, I as a Yankees fan, I say thank you for that. Anyone sweeping the Red Sox is a good series in my book. That all kind of aligns with what I think about when I think about the Orioles right now. Looking back a second at last year too, I mean, last year was a crazy season that I'm mostly willing to toss out for everybody because the world was crazy. Baseball was crazy. 60 games, what is that? But in those 60 games, the Orioles did, in fact, do better than the Red Sox, which is a nice thing to hang your hat on.
Barely, right? Just they barely held on at the end.
One game.
They weren't in last.
Which is big because I think that it looks to me like they're pretty much in rebuild mode right now. And as you say, identifying some young talent that hopefully will be the core of the next contending Oriole team. And that's fun. So in that spirit, did you see anything last year, knowing that it was a weird year? You didn't have Mancini. There's a lot going on. Was there anything you saw that interested you or that stuck with you going into this season?
So I definitely think Cedric Mullins, was that last season? Mm-hmm. I can't even I'm time is stands still.
He's killing it this year.
Yeah. So this is not so much related to statistics, but having a Black baseball player in Baltimore City, a city that is 2/3 Black, is really, really huge. I think losing Adam Jones was a really, really big loss in ways that, more so than just what he brought to the field, what he brought to the community when he was the face of the Orioles. So I actually teach in the school that's probably closest to Camden Yards. We're across the street. And it's been amazing seeing Lamar Jackson step up and seeing how that's affected my students, having a Black quarterback. And so I think that is something it can be really, really exciting because especially we take kids to ball games at the end of the year as a field trip, and they just it's so cheap, and we they use their bus tickets. Orioles usually give us free tickets once a year and we just go and it's awesome. And I think that's going to be a really big kind of a magnet, so to speak. And it's really about developing that younger generation of baseball fans, especially in Baltimore.
Yeah, and it was just really weird, just not going that. Last year was the first year I think ever that we didn't go to a game. You didn't go to a game, right?
No.
Nobody
went to a game.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe at the beginning of this was no one.
No,
were there no?
It was March.
No. Yeah, so we didn't go to a game. I mean, there have been years before the kids where I think at least one year where we made it to almost every home series, at least one game in every home series. So we went to
over 30 games.
Yeah, 30, 40 games that year.
Wow.
And And then there's been years like before even just before the pandemic where we had two kids under two, or a kid under two, or where we went to maybe 5 games, and that's relatively few. So it'd be nice. It's going to be nice being able to get back and get back into the stadium and see these guys like firsthand, and be able to like grow, start to develop with them as they start to develop. So last year was a blown year for a lot of reasons, right? The pandemic, and we were awful anyway. So it was a good year to kind of shelve and be like, that didn't really happen because no one saw it, right?
Right. Basically didn't exist. I am with you. I think it's a really interesting point about Adam Jones, because yes, I mean those great Oriole teams I remember from the early 2010s. Yeah, Adam Jones, the heart and soul of that team, and such a great player and such a great influence in the community. I imagine, just having heard him do interviews, I'm very smitten by him. So I can only imagine everyone in Baltimore must have been obsessed. So yeah, big loss there. And I mean, I can't believe he hasn't gotten a job in baseball, by the way. That's totally boggling to me.
He's in Japan.
He is. And I hope he comes back, because that's a loss. We should have Adam Jones in MLB. But Cedric Mullins kind of being the next in line of these fantastic, talented, and like awesome black outfielders for the Orioles seems like a great storyline that I'm excited to follow. Thank you for bringing that up. I love it. I didn't think about it, but yeah, pass the baton to the air.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a good segue. So looking at going from last year to this year, as you said, wasn't really a contention window happening in either of those years. So I was looking at what kind of moves the Orioles made in the off season between last year and this year. Not a ton, but it looks like to me the main ads were Freddie Galvis at shortstop, which he's clearly, especially on defense, very good, but also he can hit. And then Wade LeBlanc, which was a disaster, and he now is already gone. The two starting pitcher Felix Hernandez, which I think happened, and then Matt Harvey, who, as you said, has been shockingly good.
Right.
Wow. I mean, Matt Harvey, who would have thought a couple years ago would ever reemerge? But then to balance that, who the Orioles lost were Jose Iglesias, who was playing shortstop and very well. He was kind of the best player on the team last year, it looked like to me. And he's now with the Angels. Also with the Angels. And then losing Ronaldo Nunez and Alberto, who I get it. Like, those are good, useful pieces, but probably not guys you're going to build your team around. So was that anything in there stick out to you all, or was that all just like, yeah, this makes sense for where we are?
So my husband James definitely is more up to date with the off-season trades. But what's interesting is my mom's office. My mom works for a nonprofit, and they always do a lunch for their funders every year where Mike Elias or whoever the Orioles GM speaks. So we used to meet with Dan Duquette, and I used to have lunch with him once a year. And it was just like me and all these old white guys in the room. I was like the diversity pick. But we've had lunch with Mike Elias for the past 2 years. And he is pretty candid with us about the moves. And I mean, he's pretty much just like, we are not going to compete this year. We're next year. We're the year after. Everything is about it's like not just getting prospects, but rebuilding the system, like the whole system.
Like the place they built in Puerto Rico, or no, in the
Dominican. Yeah. But like the whole scouting system, the whole way that they're really like moving guys up and down the minors. And so I think that, I mean, he, first of all, is incredibly down to earth and so nice. And I was surprised that he, because I like Dan Duquette too. He's also very nice, but he's a lot more reserved and like, like he's a general manager. Like, you would not know that from looking at Mike. But I think that a lot of what Mike is doing is just like really, I think what he's doing is kind of trying to emulate that Earl Weaver feeling of like the Oriole way, but his own brand, not just trying to redo what Earl Weaver did. But James can definitely speak more about the specifics of the offseason.
Well, I mean, maybe not necessarily this offseason, but it was tough to see like Manny Machado go and Zach Britton, two guys that, we picked and developed and, were part of that, the pennant winning season. But at the same time, where we are in our development, as Jesselyn was saying, it's nice to see like some of these prospects that we're getting start to come up, like Dean Kramer and some of these pitching prospects that we got in some of those trades that are starting to pan out. At least like we're starting to they're starting to sprinkle kind of up. And I know there's still tons more in the system that we got from all those trades. So those are all, I mean, and I know, I think we just, or at least one, like Baseball America just put us as like the number 5, one of the teams, we're between 5 and 10 as far as our farm system goes. And that's never, we've always been in the bottom half at best. We've never really performed well with foreign players.
We got kicked out of Korea a couple years ago. It was like 5 or 6 years ago for
like some we were like going after younger players and we got banned, right? But now we're like we have a heavy presence in like the Dominican Republic and Central and South America and in Asia, and we're starting to spend money on players and develop these players that we've never been able to do before. And I think that's gonna pay a lot of dividends. And I know like Manny Machado and Zach Britton were in the Duquette era, but there was still important pieces that we had to start moving in a different direction. So it did kind of start then, but it was I think we're about a year out from starting to be hopefully where the Astros were
before the cheating.
Before the trash can banging.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm glad to hear that, because it is true, when your team is not in like super contention mode, then it does become about watching the whole system start to rise, and that's exciting in its own way. So I'm excited to hear about all the international prospects and all the international scouting mechanisms, because that is where so much talent is coming from these days. That's awesome for the Orioles. To the Zach Britton point, I am sorry that the Orioles had to trade him, but I'm not sorry the Yankees got him, because I love that guy. He is like one of my top favorite players on the team. What a great dude, in addition to being obviously an amazing pitcher. I love everything about him. And I think Dylan Tate is one of the guys you got back from the Yankees in that trade, and he's on the IL right now, but has been in your bullpen this year, right? I think.
I haven't seen him yet. I haven't seen him pitch. I haven't seen all the games. So I'm not sure about Dylan Tate. But I was listening to anyways the John Means no-hitter, the one wild pitch from a perfect game. Right, and he's from our system.
Yeah. John Means, it's a fantastic story. I mean, I watched the last like 2 innings just once I saw what was happening.
Let me just interrupt you once.
Please.
I love Zach Britton so much. he's just got such a great demeanor, and he's got such a great story, and he's just such a great person. But John Means is amazing.
They can both be
amazing. I'm glad he's on our team.
Yeah, that guy is really, really good. I mean, and it's not even, I know that last year was a really rough year for him on a personal level, on a global level for everybody. But I think he had kind of a rough beginning of the very short season, but then towards the end was just absolutely dominant again. And then he just came out of the gate this year.
He's an ace. We've never had an ace. He's an ace. He's a number 1. It's like the first time we've had a number 1 since like Mike Mussina.
I was gonna say, you had to
don't even invoke the name.
Love him too.
Oh, so Mike Mussina was my mom's crush, and then he got traded, and I was like, you can't like him anymore. Sorry.
He was also the crush of one of my high school best friends once he was a Yankee. So I think he's passed the torch up to New York.
Yes. Yep.
I'm pretty sure her mom, like when we first started dating, her mom was always made jokes about her dating one of the Orioles and how good looking, like I think Chris Davis. He was,
it was Matt Wieters. So there was like such a big deal when Matt Wieters, finally started playing in the majors, and my mom, they were like all over him in the Baltimore Sun, like Matt Wieters single, and my mom would just say every single week, "Hey Jess, Matt Wieters is still single," and then he got engaged, and I was like, you can. It's too bad. She goes, "Well, he's not married yet." I don't see no ring.
That is mom trying to get it done.
Like right in front of me.
I'm sorry. Well, it seems like it worked out well for everybody.
I mean, fair enough. If she wanted to date Matt Wieters, I would not have a problem with that.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it gets kind of hard to argue with a professional baseball player at a certain point, but I hopefully Matt Wieters is very happy in his personal life, and you guys have a great setup here. That's great. So yeah, John Means, a good segue into looking at what the roster looks like this year. And yeah, let's start with the rotation, because as you said, John Means is like I've seen the Orioles have since Mike Messina. Then you've also got Matt Harvey in the surprising career revival of dead zombie Matt Harvey that can pitch again, which is great. And then a couple other guys. So Dean Kramer, who I remember absolutely killing the Yankees multiple times last year. They just could not hit him. Don't know why. So he's definitely got a lot of potential. And then you've got Jorge Lopez and Zach Lowther. I don't know them really. Never been there yet, but I don't know. Have you seen them start at all or no?
Who's that?
Jorge Lopez and Zach Lowther.
So I haven't seen either of those guys start yet.
Yeah, me neither, actually. I feel like I missed them in both series I watched. But the other three, I mean, Means clearly is incredible every time out. And then it seems like Matt Harvey and Dean Kramer have the potential to have above average years this year, which if you have 3 above average starters for the Orioles, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah. Right. And you know what I'd also say about Matt Harvey is I think that he's going to bring some consistency to the rotation, because I mean, he doesn't have to be an ace, but like what we've been dealing with the rotation for the past, I don't know, 10 years is like Zach Britton will throw a complete game with no runs and like 90 pitches. And then the next game he's giving up 12 runs in 2/3 of an inning.
Right.
And
that's when he was a starter.
Right. Back when he was a starter. Yeah, exactly. And like we've had these guys who just go from like having these, brilliant outings to just like, I'm like, who are you? And it's like, it's infuriating because it's like, it's just up to the offense to do everything, when it's like, actually you need the pitching to be consistent, knowing that the offense is going to fluctuate. So I think if anything, like that kind of like veteran presence, like, so what if his ERA is 4? Like that's still going to put us in a position to win, especially once these bats heat up. Like, the Orioles have typically been a very good team offensively, and Camden Yards is a very hitter friendly park. So we really do tend to do well. If we can keep it to 3 or 4 runs by the time the bullpen comes in, we have a pretty good chance of winning. So if we, if we can just have some consistency, I think it's going to be really good for us. And like, not go through that emotional roller coaster of like, oh man, like what's Britton going to be doing today? And like, oh man, who else was in that crew of like, they'd either be 100% on or 100% off. You remember that?
Yeah. Who was that ace? The tall guy with the gap tooth.
Oh, Chris Tillman.
Like
Tillman.
Chris Tillman, and like, remember, this is a little earlier, but like Jake Arrieta, he was like, he'd have these like amazing outings for us. And then
Kevin Gausman,
yeah.
The Gas Man.
Yeah.
It's
sometimes it was like throwing gas on the fire. He would pitch, and generally with Gausman, he would pitch like 3, maybe 4 innings. So as soon as he got to the 3rd time through, they would just crush him. And I don't know if when he went to, where did he go? Did he go to Atlanta?
I don't know.
And it was so sad to see Nicky Markakis go.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that, because he was a longtime Oriole too. Oh.
He was, yep.
Yeah, so they would, he would pitch, and Arrieta was the same way. They'd look dominant at the beginning of the game, and then they would just lose it, and they'd end up giving like 3, 4, 5 runs in the 4th or 5th inning, and then our bullpen would come in and get worn out, and then we'd have no bullpen, and that was like, and then it's like,
we basically platooned our pitching that season. It was like the starters would more than often than not go 3 innings, and then we'd have to bring in these like inning eaters guys from the bullpen, and like, then that takes away from like the setup guys, and it's just I'm looking forward to hopefully having some more consistency in the rotation.
Yeah. You gotta have a couple of guys that are gonna give you a solid start almost every time. So
6 innings isn't so much to ask for.
These days it's tough to get, but when you find it, you keep it. Which is why I would be shocked if John Means went anywhere. That's the kind of piece you build around. He's young and he's got the kind of talent you want to keep in-house.
Yeah.
Well, this year, I think, because last year was so short, people are getting the hook early, at least at the beginning of the season, because they don't think they have the arm strength that they would have coming in after a full season last year. So I think even now, like, I think that the average, if you look at the league average for like the starting pitcher's number of pitches, it's probably way down. I think it's in the probably low 90s to start the season.
One of the guys got pulled in the first Red Sox series, a pitch count of like 88 or something, I think, when they pulled him. Makes sense.
Yeah, I've watched the Yankees do the same thing, and we have a couple guys coming back from injury too, which they're being doubly.
Kluber,
and Tyone, both. They're both both of them. It's like you can start very slowly. Keep
very
that
short.
Attached to your body.
But your bullpen is incredible. It's a lot different.
It's awesome, but point remains that you can't use everyone in the bullpen every single day because then they will wear down when it matters.
It'd be nice to have 3 closers on your team.
It doesn't. I tell you, it doesn't suck.
It doesn't hurt. Yeah, it doesn't suck.
It is a nice thing to have. But you're speaking of closers, though. Your closer is baffling and amazing. It's Cesar Valdez, who
from the Mexican League, right? He's like 30. Where'd he come from? Right. Or 30 something. Yeah.
He's upper 30s. And and he throws literally a changeup. That's what he throws.
He's like Fernando Valenzuela.
Yeah.
Just throws like this ball that no one can hit that goes like 80 miles an hour.
It's crazy. There's a great article. Maybe it was in The Athletic. I'm not sure. It was maybe it was Fangraphs. I don't remember. But it was a great article about that pitch because it is one pitch, but also it's like 10 pitches because he can vary the break on that ball and the velocity enough that even just a changeup every single pitch is a totally different look for the hitter every time, which is crazy.
Yeah, that helps you with the chess match. And that's what I miss about Buck Showalter as the coach is like he was the chess master. Like he was just brilliant with his substitutions, his everything that he was calling. Oh my gosh, don't you miss him?
Yeah, and his press conferences after the game were magic. Just to listen to him, just the way he talked to the reporters and the demeanor he had and the rapport he has, it was I would always turn on the game after the game. I was like, leave it on. We need to watch Buck and the interview. And that was like, so the game's always, it was like the 10th inning where we would, come in and really go. We were watching games a lot more back then, we didn't have
kids.
Yeah. Didn't have to put kids to bed at 8.
Right. Yeah, but it's great. He actually does post game with the Yankees sometimes. And it
really?
Yeah, I know. After that very kind of acrimonious parting, I think everyone thought he would never go back to the Yankees at all, but turns out he did. So he'll be on the Yes Network, sometimes in the studio doing post game. And
nice.
He sees a lot. He's a very keen and practiced eye. So they'll cut to him and just be like, what did you notice that we all didn't see? And he will have to things. It was pretty neat.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I like Brandon Hyde too, but it's definitely a different personality.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's every once in a while it's gotta cycle through, I guess.
Right.
New guy for the new players to raise a new match.
Exactly.
There are currently 3 other guys in your bullpen that are running a sub 2 ERA, which surprised me because I didn't think the Orioles bullpen was that good, and it has some weak points to it. But looking at Paul Fry, Adam Plutko, and Cole Sulser, sorry, those 3 guys have been shockingly good and consistent so far.
Yeah, right. And I thought, I remember when we picked up Plutko, because that was one of the last guys we picked up. I don't know if he was a free agent. And so I thought it looked like, if I remember correctly, he was about to sign with another team and it didn't go through, and so he's still a free agent and we picked him up. And then Salser is from our system. Nice. And so is Fry. Fry was crushing it last year. He has some really good outings, and he has pretty electric stuff, like fast.
He reminds me of O'Day, minus the sidewinder.
Yeah.
Yeah, somehow the Yankees have a lot of old Orioles, I'm realizing.
I know. I know. I was thinking that too. I was like, one more gem that you get to enjoy that we can't anymore.
O'Day is a delight. He's hurt right now, as is Britton, but he seemed like a lot of fun, and it is crazy to watch. How do you? I don't know how the arm does that and achieves that trajectory on the ball, but
I used to play softball, and I actually had the nickname Sidewinder but I was a second baseman, so it made a little more sense for me to be, whipping a sidearm around. I wasn't pitching 100 pitches with that.
Yeah, a little easier to just get across the diamond every couple plays.
Right.
You want it? I think we've just got.
Oh yeah, we have we got an Orioles shirt.
We do. Nice. Oh, very classy.
Yeah.
I love the
Is
orange.
that Orioles?
Well, and he's got a Ravens on top of it. Very Baltimore.
Baltimore sports all the way down.
Yep.
That's excellent. So the pitching is actually in decent shape this year, but let's look at I'd love to talk about your.
Just don't talk about Armstrong.
Oh, talk about Armstrong, please.
Yeah, no. Armstrong has like a 10 ERA or something like that, or 12. It seems like he just comes in and just gets hammered.
Well, I mean, feels like once Wade LeBlanc left, someone had to pick up that role.
Right. So yeah, it's like he's very cringeworthy when he comes in. It's like, yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen here, but it's not gonna be good.
It's tough because it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch guys come in and you think, oh gosh, this guy again, this is always a disaster. But yet, no team ever has a bullpen full of guys that have you feel that way about. And it just speaks how hard it is to get a pitcher in the major league. If everyone could build a bullpen without a guy that not every so often, everyone would do it. And no one does it.
Yeah.
But yes, Armstrong. Yeah, I guess Tanner Scott also and Tyler and Tanner, the other 2 guys that are currently in your bullpen. They struck me as guys who right now their stats are kind of medium. I don't know a lot else about them. I don't know if you had any particular attachment to either of them.
Tyler pitched, but I remember Tanner from 2 years ago coming up a couple of times, like at the end of the season. And he was really young. And he I remember at that point he threw 1 or 2 games that were really good, and they would come in and just get shelled. But it looks like he had good stuff, but he just didn't have good control.
Right.
And so when he was throwing it right over the plate, 95 over the plate isn't going to play.
Yeah, that just takes experience, I imagine. That's the kind of thing where a young pitcher you have the stuff already, learning to harness it is kind of its own growing experience. And at some point you have to do that in the major leagues, because in the minor leagues, you will be better than a lot of the hitters if you are ready for the majors. So you just got to come up, take some knocks and figure it out.
Yep, exactly.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah. But looking at your position players for a second, this is what I'm just going to run down this real quick and then tell me all your thoughts on everything. Catcher wise, you got Pedro Severino with Chance Sisco backing up, who I remember being a really hot prospect back in the day, And then we got the lovely Trey Mancini at first base, Ramon Urias, who I don't really know, at second base, Michael Franco, who I forgot was an Oriole, at third base, Freddie Galvis, already discussed, first up. And then the outfield of currently Austin Hayes, Rick Mullins, DJ Stewart, and Santander is hurt right now, but hopefully coming back soon. And then Ryan Mountcastle, DHing, playing first base. And then Rio Reed and Pat Valleca backing up the infield. And Ryan McKenna, I guess, right now backing up the outfield. Santander is out. So tell me what strikes you there, who you're excited about, who you love.
I'm excited about that outfield, all three of them. Santander, Austin Hayes, and Cedric Mullins. I think, at least Hayes and Mullins are center fielders. Santander has a rocket of an arm, and they can all hit. Hayes doesn't crush it, but he can run the bases. He can hit for average. That's a great outfield. And I mean, and of course, I love Trey Mancini. Oh, and he can play, and he can play anywhere. They could put him in that outfield too.
That's what I was just about to say. I mean, he is like the ultimate utility player. I mean, because you have.
I mean, he's no Ryan Flaherty, but
okay, yeah, Rye Fly. So but I mean, seriously, like, how many guys can play? Like, first base is a very specialized position. You know, not everybody can play it, even though I'm sure a lot of players, like all the players, have the skills to play it, but like to effectively play first base. And you know, to go from center field to the to first base, and basically just, you know, after battling cancer, you know, no less. He's amazing. One of the things that I'm really excited about, a lot of these infielders, Franco and oh my gosh, why am I blanking on shortstop's name? Galvis, thank you. Oh, he's so much fun to watch. I love watching these guys run the bases. Like, one of my very, very, very few criticisms of the Buck Showalter regime was that we did not play small ball enough and steal bases enough. And you know, I'd always say to James, I'd always be like, you know, two natty bows in, and I'd be like, why doesn't he steal? And James is like, trust in Buck. He's probably got like a statistical reason why they're not stealing.
Right.
And you know, and I actually asked Dan Duquette about that, and he said something about that too, like just the statistical probability of it. But I am a huge fan of stealing bases. I love watching these guys run the bases. I saw that they were stealing a lot more in that Red Sox series, and I was hopeful that might be the start of the something new. And I also think that, like, there's something to be said for just taking a big lead and getting in a pitcher's head, you know, like especially with the way that shifts have completely revolutionized the game. I think that there's, like, you really can get an advantage by messing with people. And also, like, now they have to plan for that. That's one of the things that your opponents have to plan for. And you can just decide, okay, you know what? We're not going to steal today. We're not going to take big leads. Just mess with them, right? Like, that's what baseball's all about.
Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about, like, the new extra inning rule where they start with the guy on second, but I don't know if you were watching that Orioles game where we went into extra innings with the Yankees, and we bunted, and we hit a sacrifice fly to win the game, you know, on a walk-off.
Yep.
And it was nice to see us do both of those, do the bunt and the sacrifice fly, and get the guy in, like, in what seemed like, you know, a very easy kind of textbook kind of, this is how you do it, and something that we never do. You know, we never, like, ever bunt.
Right.
It's like, you know, we have to be able to do those things to win games.
It's interesting because I think the bunt and the stolen base have both decreased drastically in recent years. And you're right, it is because statistically, giving up an out on a bunt is usually going to score you less runs on average than not giving up the out. And then base stealing wise, you have to be pretty darn sure you're going to make it a worthwhile risk. So, but I do think that what the extra innings rule with the man on second does is exactly that. It incentivizes plays that are disincentivized in a regular game. So whether you like that or not, I guess is a personal preference. I do think I also love watching guys run the bases. So I do think it's a lot of fun to have extra, extra traffic. It's more excitement. As somebody whose team is not built that way at all, like it's just, we're not built for that new rule. It's frustrating to watch it a lot of time because yes, I think there's an argument that every major leaguer should be able to lay down a bunt for sure. That's a fundamental thing. But
Chris,
they stopped teaching it mostly because most front offices don't call for it anymore because it's not worth it until all of a sudden you get a free runner in extra innings as of last year.
Chris Davis would still be playing if you know how to bunt. He had a whole half side of the field. He would be on first every time. Or at least he would make them, if he knew how to bunt, he would make them play the outfield properly, and then he could hit the way he needed to hit. But I mean, he just thought he could just crush it into, a packed outfield, and he just kept doing it.
Yeah.
And it was the same result every time. He just got, he hit the ball, hard right at people.
Right.
And yeah, it's not going to get
the
you on base.
Baltimore chop.
The Baltimore, with that packed dirt. Chris Davis, I just remember towards the end, I mean, it's not the end. Technically, he's still on your team. He's just on the 60-day injured list.
Well, yeah, he's injured.
Yeah, I can't decide. Do you think he's ever coming back?
No. He won't.
I will never give up on Chris Davis.
He will never play as an Oriole again.
I'm not giving up.
It seemed to me like the problem towards the end was both what you said and also then that combined with just a ridiculous strikeout rate. Like that last year, I mean, my team has guys who strike out a lot, but just watching Chris Davis, when I watched him, it just seemed like almost every at bat ended in a really ugly swing.
Like he wasn't focused. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're trying to overthink changing your hitting style at the plate to, work your way around a shift, that can't be good for your swing.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say though, I think Chris Davis has one of the most beautiful swings in all of baseball.
Yeah.
That it's just this effortless, that left-handed swing. I mean, I remember that year he hit 53 home runs and somebody made a video of just like all of them in a row. Oh man, it's orgasmic, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, yes, everyone loves sweet swinging lefty, and he had all the power, has all the power in the world, but he connects. That's always fun. Well, I'm intrigued. I couldn't decide whether I thought he had any chance of coming back again. So we might as well just split in opinion. So we'll have to I guess we'll have to see.
Exactly.
So okay, so that's I mean, as you say, there are a lot of really decent pieces in your position player pool as well. So I think the Orioles are beginning to set themselves up pretty well for a future building of a contender. So
yeah, I'm also excited about Mountcastle.
Yes.
I know he had a rough start to the year, but I know he's got a lot of potential and he's starting to come around. And I think, his stroke is going to be there. And, they're not going to give up on him. So he'll get his confidence and he'll definitely be a big piece of the puzzle by the end of the year. I think we'll see him starting to flourish.
He's already had some pretty big hits, if memory serves.
Yeah, he has. And his average will catch up.
It's an adjustment. He's new.
Yeah.
To figure it out. That's awesome. So with all that and knowing that it's, expectations for a team that's working on rebuilding are different than for a team that's trying to win a championship right now. But just, based on what the goals of the team are, what do you think the best and worst case scenarios are this year for these Orioles?
We're not going to lose 100 games.
Great.
I think that best case scenario is we have a winning record.
Cool.
I think that people would be really happy with that. I think that it's been a rough couple of years, having after the Buck era, especially after 2014, where we just like destroyed the American League, until that ALCS, unfortunately. We just that the city was different. You could feel it. And then people came to the games even when they sucked because it was fun, but it felt like they weren't even trying. That's what it felt like when they just kind of like dumped everybody for draft picks, and then everybody they drafted they dumped for more draft picks. Like it was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and they had no pitchers. They had a couple guys in the bullpen that they got rid of.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the 90s, and the Orioles were great then. I mean, 96, 97, they went really far in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I grew up with Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray, like all those, Palmeiro. I was like very spoiled. And then when I was a teenager, then they were horrific. Oh my gosh, they were so bad. But it was so much fun to go to the games because they were still trying to win, and there were guys that have personality, and the ballpark would just they really try to engage with the fans, and they've always done a great job of that. They still do it. I mean, the giveaways I think are the best in the league. They have amazing merch. Like the first 20,000 people get a Hawaiian shirt, and it even better. It's so good. But like for I'd say like maybe 2017, 2018, 2019 was like, why am I going to the park? It really felt like that. And like, I literally bleed. Like, as I said, I have a tattoo. I have an Orioles tattoo, like bleed black and purple or black and orange.
No one screams louder at her than her at the games. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun going to games with Jesselyn.
Can't wait to do that one day. That's awesome.
Yeah, she screams. And she'll let everyone know what she's thinking.
That's good. That's the point of being a fan. You got to have emotions and let them out. That's what it's about.
But in a fun, happy way. It's awesome.
Of course, yeah. No, I mean it's also like a group catharsis in many ways.
Yeah.
It's great. One of the many things I love about them. I do think it's interesting thinking about what makes a team fun to watch, because certainly, usually a team that is excellent on the field is fun to watch because winning is fun. But I think, as you pointed out, there are times when a team that's not winning can also be really fun to watch. And it seems like this group of Orioles is kind of approaching that already, as, maybe they're not going to play the best, cleanest baseball right now yet. They may not, they may just have a winning record, but they seem like they're enjoyable to watch anyway.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that like it's what's tough about the Orioles, and this is also a challenge for the Ravens too, just because of the nature of the NFL with the salary cap, is like, you have these beloved players who end up getting traded. And what the Orioles of the 2000s didn't do was trade players. I mean, you had guys on a losing team, but you had the same guys on a losing team, and so like Melvin Mora, I mean, he was there forever. Right. And he's not, he may have been an all-star one season, but like he was just fun to watch, and he was a nice guy, and like Rodrigo Lopez and Javi Lopez, like these guys they're not household names, but like for us growing up in Baltimore in the 2000s, we worshiped those guys. They were like so nice, and they were so approachable. And the thing about rooting for a losing team too is like those guys, first of all, it's easier to meet them after the game. Like you can stick around and get autographs. And I think that they tend to be a lot more appreciative and more kind of connected with the fans because there are fewer of them. We are a smaller city, we're 10% the size of New York City. And we're also a blue collar town. People don't come to games like they do in New York or Boston. But when they do, the people who do come are so loud and they're so diehard. And, it's absolutely amazing. We were actually at the ALDS, I'm sure you remember this, 2012 game 1 against the Yankees. And they had like a sound measure, like it was measuring the decibels. And we actually broke the record that night for a Major League Baseball game. It was so crazy. Yeah. And like, it was, oh my gosh. It was like everything I had waited for since I was a little kid and watched the Orioles lose to, oh man, with the Jeffrey Mayer catch. I don't know if you remember that.
Vaguely. Yeah, was that CC Sabathia? Because I know he had a big series that series. Maybe.
No, this was before. This was Jeter's rookie season.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking 2012.
Oh, yeah. Oh no, you're right. Right. Yeah. It was CC. Yep, CC started and Jim Johnson was pitching at the end. Yep, exactly. Yep.
Jeffrey Mayer was way back in Jeter's review. Yep. That was a long time ago. Yep. That I don't really remember. I wasn't watching as closely back then. I've heard about it, of course, because that's just lore now. And should stop. That's great. That's awesome. Tell me this: is there a player that you on the team that you might have already answered this, but a player that I probably wouldn't know that I should be excited about, or maybe even a prospect you think is coming up soon that I should be excited about?
Let me think about that.
Yeah.
What do you think? You know the prospects better than I do.
Yeah, no, I mean, Adley Rutschman, but I'm sure you know who that is.
I do, but tell me what you're excited about for him.
It's going to be nice to get. I mean, he's both a great defensive pitch catcher and a slugger, and his demeanor. Apparently he's like a leader in the clubhouse. Like he's one of those just been there, done that, not full of himself, but he's a first round draft pick that's going to be around for a while, and and has a winning attitude. He's not like a D-bag, Yeah. Some of those guys can be like, you're just like, he's like Manny Machado, who was a great player, but he's a head case.
Yeah.
He wasn't a head case.
He was a head case.
No, he wasn't a head case. He was cocky as all F, but he wasn't a head case.
Right. Yeah. And, and I liked him. I like to watch him. I thought he was an amazing player.
Oh yeah.
But but then you see him do stuff like throw his bat and and he just played sometimes the wrong way.
Right.
What I feel like is the wrong way, and it just kind of rubs you the wrong way. And so it's nice to have guys on your team like Lamar Jackson on the Ravens, where you're like, that guy is solid. I'm glad he's on our team. He's got a right attitude. And I think Adley Rutschman is one of those guys.
That's awesome. Because yes, what I know about him is just, great defensive catcher who can also hit, which by itself, that is a hard profile to find. It's hard to find great catchers who have offense. I mean, if you look at the catch numbers around the league, there are not a lot of them that hit above average. So that is in and of itself very exciting, but knowing that he also has leadership qualities and that certain extra poise that you're looking for in a leader in the clubhouse, that's really exciting. When do you think he's coming up? You think it's this year? You think it's next year?
He may come up at the end of this year. I mean, I don't think they're really, I mean, Pedro Severino and Chance Cisco they're both kind of questionable defensively. Especially Cisco, where he can't seem to be able to circle around and pull the ball back in sometimes. Right. It's just like a lazy kind of work ethic.
I don't know if it's work ethic. Or I think it's more just like what
he tries to backhand it too much. And eventually cause error, and then push it away instead of pulling it back.
But I think that the thing with Adley is it's really more about his development than like how he's going to serve the team. So I think that's what's going to determine whether he comes up or not. So I know that Mike Elias wants to get him some reps in the majors this season, ideally, but he's not going to push it if he's not ready. But it's not going to be about, I mean, that is kind of the thing about having, the freedom, so to speak, to not chase a pennant right now is like, you don't have to worry so much about the pieces. You can really focus on the individual players and their individual growth. And I think that's really what Adley's role is right now. It's like he is being developed as a player, not as a piece of this 2021 team. So, I mean, hopefully that means that he'll get reps that are meaningful for him And he doesn't need to worry about like filling a need at this point because like, we do have two pretty solid catchers at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a great point too, because there is always that push and pull with teams. You obviously want to get the players as developed as possible in the best way possible for their longevity and their careers. But yeah, sometimes need arises and guys have to be pushed, and that is sometimes great and sometimes not as great. So it is great that the Orioles have the luxury this year of doing whatever is best for Adley. That's really probably beneficial for him in the long run. Good call.
Definitely.
Cool. All right. I have a couple other things, but they're less roster focused. So before I players, is there anything else about any players or the team outlook that you want to make sure you say?
That's a really good question. I mean, I'm just excited to be competitive again. And just sweeping the Red Sox to start the season, I felt like it just set the tone that we're not a doormat anymore. And like Boston, I hate Boston fans. I don't need to tell you.
They're terrible.
But they come down to Baltimore and they're like, yeah, it's Fenway South. And I'm like, you D-bags, get out of here. Nobody likes you. And they're just like, they're so obnoxious. And we just boo the heck out of them anytime that they start their Let's Go Red Sox chants. But I really appreciate how much the Orioles play to win. At least, I mean, in terms of this team specifically. And I especially appreciate it against the AL East opponents. And, I feel like it's not even so much about the result as the effort. Like, we're going to make you work for it. And you can't just expect the O's to roll over and be an easy W. So it's just like, it's been a lot of fun to watch them this season, especially after, you said, and we all experienced it. It's just the last season was awful for so many reasons. And it feels like this is, not only a new era in the world, but also, hopefully for Major League Baseball and for the Orioles.
So, and there's two guys down, I think they're in Bowie right now. I'm pretty sure they're both in Bowie. And I never get to see them, and I only hear about them on the radio, so I don't really know how good they are. But one of them is Gunnar Henderson. I've heard a lot of good things about him. He's a big guy, he plays shortstop, and he can really hit. And the other one's a pitcher, Grayson Rodriguez. I think is gonna, from what I hear, it sounds like he's got some pretty good stuff, and so they both should be up maybe in the next couple of years. And I think they're part of this number 5 farm system that we've got going, and so it'd be nice to see some of these guys come up. But those are two guys that I'm excited about.
That's great. I didn't know either of them, so I'll be on the lookout for Gunnar and Grayson.
Right.
Sounds like a weird emo music duo.
I know. I was just thinking it's like a hipster acoustic duo.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Maybe they'll do that on the side while they're also doing it on Baltimore. That'd be fun. You got a coffee shop, Dean, right? Awesome. That's great. I've learned a lot about the roster. I'm very excited. The Orioles also, they've played the Yankees tough this year so far, for sure. I think they played 7 games, and I think it's 4-3 in favor of the Yanks. They split that last series. So yeah, they're not rolling over. I think it's nice to watch your team put up a fight and really make a concerted effort to win. That's what we want as fans. That's great.
Yep.
Okay, so my next topic for you is talking about the ballpark. I mentioned it a couple times, but Oriole Park at Camden Yards I don't know. I've actually never been there. So my first question to you both is, obviously you've been a ton. So tell me what you love about your ballpark.
So I'm sure that you probably know a lot about the history, like relatively short history of Camden Yards, but it is, it's the first of the retro ballparks that have been kind of, trending in baseball in the past 25, 30 years. And it is just one of the most beautiful structures that I've seen. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's all brick and iron, and and once you're inside, there's just not a bad seat in the house.
Awesome.
People are so nice. Everyone is so nice. I mean, people in Baltimore are generally like pretty nice. It's a very interesting mix of like Southern hospitality and like Northern, like leave me the hell alone, depending on like where you are. But like Camden Yards is definitely the Southern hospitality side. The food is amazing. Baltimore food is unbelievable. Crab cakes, like you can get anything there with, crab dip and crab melt on it. Everything comes with Old Bay. And if you're a real Baltimorean, you put malt vinegar on your fries first and then load them with Old Bay. And that's how we eat them. Oh, so good. What else, James?
Right. And we usually walk there and Uber home. So it's like, yeah, maybe like a 20-25 minute walk from our house to the stadium. And then like and like the outfield, like in front of the warehouse, like that's all like a walking area.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just easy to walk around the stadium. I love the outfield seats. Like there's like the bar seating where there's these stools that are like right in front of the ivy that goes up the wall. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the stadium. But I love sitting in those seats, like right in the outfield, like and hanging out at that bar before the game, when like watching batting practice. And yeah, it's just got a good feel to it. Like you just like walk right into the stadium. It's not like you feel like it's like part of the landscape. It's not, it's not like separate. It's not like you like drive there and park and then go to the stadium. It's like you just walk into the stadium.
Yeah. Like we've been to a bunch of different stadiums across the country. I remember like Philadelphia, for example, is like all the arenas are all right next to each other, but they're like not near anywhere else in the city. There's like one bar and it's like, one of those generic like sports bars with a like a mechanical bowl in the middle of it. And like you walk outside Oriole Stadium and there's like all these, salt of the earth pubs, like, there's Pickles, that's like the big one, and Sliders, and what's the beer? Pratt Street, right? Pratt Street Ale House. Yep. Yeah. There's just like tons of bars around there, and like they're all just full of Orioles fans pre-gaming, and then people who don't have tickets will stick around and just like watch, or people who can't be there at the beginning come meet you later at Pickles.
Yeah, and Toronto sucks.
Yeah.
Toronto Stadium sucks. Tampa Stadium sucks.
Yeah. No one wants to go to Tampa.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I've seen photos of Camden, but I've never been. It was actually, I had a trip planned in earlier in the season, the first series in 2020, but that clearly did not happen, as things did not in 2020. So I live in New York, so it's so easy to get there that it's kind of crazy I haven't been yet. And everything I've seen is gorgeous, and everything you just said is very in keeping with what it looks like on the internet. I do, though, what you can't tell from that is I love that's integrated into the city. It is rare to see that. That, to me, that sounds a little bit like Wrigley, which my experience at Wrigley was there just, Wrigley Town right around there. It's all bars. People are just out. It's really fun. I think that's great. And so good for the city that way to have this park right there.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And Raven Stadium is right behind it, which is awesome. So it's like,
but it's not like Philly.
Right. It's not like Philly because it's literally, it's steps from the harbor. So it's like, it's just all very central. And it's like, I thought you said it well. It's like, it's very integrated into like the cityscape. You just kind of like, it doesn't feel like a separate space. It feels like just a continuation. And you can actually walk through the walk that kind of goes through the center of the stadium. It's open during the off season. So you can just walk through it, in the winter, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's like a promenade, and it just goes like you go through it. Sometimes you go through it to go to the Ravens game, depending on where you're coming from.
Nice. That's lovely. Well, I cannot wait to go. I will eat fries with malt vinegar and Old Bay, and I will eat things with crab.
It's amazing.
It sounds good. I mean, it all sounds good. I am here for everything. I'm very excited to go on my ballpark tour and try all the food everyone's recommending to me. It all sounds fantastic. And then along with the stadium, the Orioles do have a mascot. You mentioned him before. He is the Oriole Bird. Not the most creative name in the world, but it is a good description of what this creature is. He is a large scale version of an like cartoon Oriole. He's got,
He's got a lot of personality.
yeah, he's got, so even just looking at him, he's got personality. He's like mostly black. He's got the splash of orange, the Oriole orange, which is lovely. But he's got this crazy, like flying saucer orange beak, which is like a little freaky when you look at it at first. Because if you look at a photo of an Oriole, they've got this like graceful, tapered gray. And this bird just has like this crazy flat plate thing. It's great. But yeah, I was looking into the Oriole bird, and what I learned is that he was hatched out of a giant egg, apparently, before the 1979 season. His height is listed at somewhere between Tweety Bird and Big Bird, which is a very large range. And his hobbies are greeting fans at the ballpark, sliding on dugouts, and acting like a bird brain. So tell me, what is your experience with the Oriole bird?
So I have to say that one of my favorite things about the Oriole Bird, especially in years when we've been winning, is he can sometimes kind of be a little off color. You agree?
Yeah, he antagonizes.
He antagonizes opposing fans. Yeah.
I love that.
It's really funny.
Like he could take a hat and throw it. I could see him doing that, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. He's fantastic.
But then he kind of gets it back, and then he'll like pretend to step on it.
Or he'll do the
he'll like feign stepping on it. It's like, no, get back.
Yeah. He'll do the thing where like he holds it out and then takes it back, holds it out, takes it back, like that kind of thing. Yeah. Or he'll just like every now and then you'll get like a group of Red Sox fans, just like all kind of clustered together somewhere, and they'll start their little chant, and he'll go over and he'll like, stick his butt in their face, and then he'll like get the rest of the stadium to
give us like let's hear it.
Yeah. He's like, come on, boo them. And like, he's just like really, really charismatic and individual, I would say.
Loves to take pictures with fans.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Always taking a picture. Like there are definitely times where I've been like taking a picture and didn't know the Oriole bird was behind me, and he'll just like pop in my picture.
He photo bombs. That's great.
Yeah. He's such a photo bomb. Yeah. There was also a really, really funny time when his hat fell off into the dugout. He was like dancing on top of the dugout. His hat fell off, and Adam Jones, just like no fanfare, picked it up, put it on. But of course, it's like 3 times the width of Adam's head. So, and Adam didn't even do anything. He just started like pacing back and forth in the dugout wearing the Oriole Birds. You should look it up because it's really funny.
I will. That's exactly the kind of thing I love, because the Yankees don't have a mascot because we are too formal for a mascot. However, I love them. I think they're really fun. And I especially love it when they're a little mischievous, because that is delightful. Because yeah, they're there to obviously engage the youth, have fun with the kids, but also if you can get the parents laughing along with you as well, and like all us longtime fans, that's a good mascot.
Exactly.
When I'm really excited, I will make sure to get a photo with the Oriole bird when I get to Camden.
Yes.
I'll wear this so I can match him.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Okay, well now this has all been great. I'm like actually really excited about a lot of things about the Orioles now, thanks to you two. I take up a lot of your time. If you have time, I would love one very quick game, if you have time before you go. It's low pressure. You can't win or lose right now. But I've come up with this thing that I'm having people do with me. I call it the match-up game. And basically, I've got some baseball hats next to me, and they're full of names. One has the names of pretty much all the Orioles hitters. One has the pitchers, and then the same for the Yankees. And what I've been doing is picking 5 pitcher-hitter matchups, and then we each predict what we think is going to happen when that matchup occurs over the course of the season series. And I'm tracking all this. I've created many spreadsheets for myself this season.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And I'm seeing, a point for every correct outcome. So, if it were like, whatever, Aaron Judge versus Matt Harvey, and I said home run, and it happened 3 times, I'd get 3 points. It happened 0 times, I'd get 0 points. So my idea is I track that at the end of the season. Somebody wins and somebody loses, with the incentive of the losing party will purchase the winning party a beverage, hopefully at a baseball game. We can all be in the same place.
Nice. Love it. Yeah.
Win-win.
I will say that so far, there have been some matchups that have come through. Some people have gotten points, so it's not totally hopeless cause. But since this is all about the Orioles, would you rather have 3 pitchers or 3 hitters be on the Orioles side?
Hitters. Yeah. Yeah. Hitters.
Okay, great. So what I will do first is, let's do it. I'm going to pick a Yankees pitcher out of this hat. And it is, Garrett Cole. Great, I love it.
Of course you do.
And Garrett Cole matching up against Austin Hayes. It's a good matchup, righty. You may go first. I will, as my guests, you may choose your outcome.
I mean, like, who is this going to be more fun for me to root for? Like, versus what do I actually think?
It's tough. You can make that call. People have chosen both ways. So
no, I'm just going to go with Hayes because that's what I want.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think it.
So do we have to say like the exactly what we think is going to happen, like a hit?
Yeah, give me a single to right field or home run or whatever you think.
Oh, I'm gonna go with an RBI single.
Cool. All right.
Single to left center.
I was just thinking that.
All right.
Just thinking left center too. Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Team Timpson goes single to left center. I'm gonna go with a strikeout just because that's a thing Garrett Cole does well. Nothing to do with Austin Hayes. I go with that with almost anybody with Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got single versus strikeout. We'll see. All right. Next up, we're going to get an Orioles pitcher in here. And that's going to be Cole Sulser, the right-handed reliever who we were talking about before. And see what he would do against Clint Frazier, outfielder for us, righty, with, quote, legendary bat speed, but also this year, a sub 200 batting average so far.
I'm just gonna pop out.
I was gonna say a ground out. What are we gonna go with?
Pop out, probably a foul out, but I think it's gonna be a pop.
Okay.
Okay.
Go with that.
Pop out. That's totally fair. I think I'm gonna go with home cooking. I'm gonna go with a double to left.
Nice.
He does when he makes contact. It's nice. When he doesn't, less so. All right. Next up, we've got a Yankees pitcher, and it is Aroldis Chapman, our closer. Wow. And that matchup will be against Pedro Severino, your catcher.
I mean, I think it would be a ground out, but I also like.
He's gonna strike him out.
You think he's gonna strike him out?
I think that's a good call. To be fair to you, also, Chapman is currently striking out like 70% of the batters he faces, so that's probably a pretty good bet.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Out. As my guest, you get to pick the correct answer. I will go. Yeah, I'll go ground out to short. I think you're probably going to win that round. Okay. Next, we got an Orioles pitcher, and it is Paul Fry, he of the very good stuff. Exciting. And he will be facing Tyler Wade, our backup utility infielder, who's also a lefty.
If that matchup ever happens, he's gonna strike him out.
Yeah, I think that's right. I will just have to go with a very weak ground ball to second. Ground out.
That's gonna be a hard one.
It's never gonna
to
happen.
match up
It's
because
literally never gonna happen. I know that's unfortunate because they will never have Tyler Wade. The only way it will happen is if a game is in extra innings and we're going to use our entire bench, which
right. But then again, the chances of him facing Fry at that, I mean, I guess at that point in the game, they're more likely because Fry will, that's when Fry would be pitching. But
right. The O's and Yanks tend to go into extras a lot, though.
They sure do. It's exhausting. So that could happen, but I'm like, I wouldn't bet the house on that. Okay, we got one more here, and that's going to be Yankees pitcher. Who we've got Jameson Taillon, righty starter, and he'll be facing Ryan Mountcastle, also righty with power.
Ooh.
So is Jameson Taillon being injured a possibility?
It is, but you're not allowed to guess that. It's always a possibility.
Right. He's gonna start pitching and then he's gonna get injured in the middle of the
That's depressing.
At least a double. Do you want to go?
I was gonna say a double to center. I think maybe even a ground rule double. But
right center, yeah. Maybe hit the wall.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. That's probably why I would have picked too. So now the question is, do I go with a home run? I don't know. That's a big ask. I feel like when Taillon gives them up, they tend to be homers more than anything else. But yeah, I like Mountcastle. I'm gonna go with it. I think Mountcastle's gonna homer off Taillon.
Nice.
Okay.
And I don't hope that happens, but that's what I'm guessing. Cool. So I will track this. They've got a 3-game series second half of this week, and then I guess probably almost 10 more after that. Still got plenty of games.
Right.
With these guys. So that's gonna be fun to watch. I will keep tabs. I'll shoot you an email if anything exciting happens.
Great.
Pertains to these matchups, that is. Yeah. So that's all I have. Is there any other final thoughts y'all want to throw in there about your Orioles?
They're just amazing. They're just like this city comes alive during Orioles postseason in a way that I've never seen in any city. And I've lived in a couple of different cities. Like I lived in LA, and people don't care about the Dodgers the way that they do about the Orioles. And I would say, to be fair, like the Yankees and the Red Sox fans are diehard too. And I think the whole AL, well, I shouldn't even say the whole AL East. I don't know about Tampa and Toronto, but
yeah,
those 3 teams, as much as I despise the Red Sox and like grudgingly respect the Yankees because of my dad, that I think that there is a really strong tradition with those teams, and you can tell in the culture of everything. Like it's not just a fan base; it's like a whole subculture. It's like it's food, it's sayings. It's an accent in Baltimore. Oh man, the Baltimore accent is not so kind on the ears, but very distinct, and you hear it every time you go to the ballpark. You just hear that horn.
Watch out for them O's.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I'm very excited about that. I've been to Baltimore only once, and I didn't get to spend a lot of time there. I was there for a work thing, and it was kind of quick. But I really, really want to, when I go back, obviously go to the Orioles, of course. But then I also want to explore a bit, because what a cool city, and like the food and the harbor and just all the stuff. I want to see all the stuff.
It's the best. It's the best. We'll give you a whole list of places to go if you end up with some time to spend.
I will make sure to, and I will definitely hit you up for that. And I mean, hopefully at some point when I'm able to get down there, we gotta go to a baseball game, because that sounds like a lot of fun. I want to hear Jesselyn scream at top of her lungs.
Yeah, that's a guaranteed to happen.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I'll come when they're not playing the Yankees, and I'll root for the Orioles too.
There you go.
Right.
Hey, Sox versus O's is always a great game, because Orioles fans hate the Red Sox fans more than any other fan base. Don't you think? They're so obnoxious. Oh
They're
my God.
terrible. They're,
Yeah.
I mean, Yankees fans feel similarly. We also hate Red Sox fans, so we can agree on that. We was it the enemy of my enemy is my friend? So
Exactly.
we can just be friends over hating the Red Sox fans and
Exactly.
together cheer on the Orioles against the Sox. It's a plan.
Perfect. I love it.
I can't wait. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to chat with me. This was awesome. I learned a lot, and I now feel deep affection for your guys.
Oh, that's so sweet. This was really fun. Thank you so much for having us.
You got it. Hopefully, we'll chat again soon. I'm sure we'll see how the season goes, and we'll do a debrief as it goes on.
Yeah. That
And
sounds great. Hey, the O's are up 2-1 on the Sox.
Yeah, let's do it.
Bottom of the eighth, first and third, no outs, up 2-1.
Nice.
Right, let's go O's.
Let's go
Let's
O's.
go O's. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, go enjoy
Trey
the rest.
Mancini at bat. So there we go.
Okay, I'll have to turn it on after we get off this. I enjoy the rest of the game. Enjoy your evening, and thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Have a good one, Kara.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care. See ya.
Bye.